You said the world needs power, I won't disagree. There's heat in the ground and the wind runs free. You call nuclear the future, but it won't power itself. Nuclear relies on coal more than coal needs itself. You said crypto was coming and demand would explode, that AI would load what the grid couldn't hold.
Hello.
But SMRs stay delayed, no ground ever breaks, and the public pays out while the promise remakes. You said it's the hour, but the plan's still the same. The technology is analog from the Cold War days. There's no place for the waste, and yuccas refused.
It's called
dry
Enrichment,
containers
man.
become the only refuge.
You'll find it at James Lucid's site, who created it, filmmaker, musician, artist.
You say you lead the charge with a federal hand.
It's a sin to turn it down,
Would you
eh?
vote Price Anderson or stand with the land?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Remember that? 1953. I think it was 1953. They're hitting him with proton beams, same as they kill your loved ones in the hospital. And they call it therapy, is it? Radiation therapy? And so he would have died shortly after that experience. But the academics would have known this. He was considered disposable because he wasn't an academic, just like you. All right, got a great show, I guess. All things considered, there's such a thing as a great show. There's such a thing. This picture, this is a picture from the day. You can call into these shows 709-589-4406 in Canada. I was fading before before the show started there. It was a rough day. Always better to be here with you folks, though. So we got a poll. It's so important. It's just so important. Has the nuclear industry declared war on humanity by surrounding nuclear plants with farms worldwide? Because insects go to those farms too, right? I mean, look at this picture to your left. Both of these pictures, by the way, are from today. We'll see them in today's story, right? But look at that one over there. That's not the whole picture. Once you see it, like the entire plant is encompassed by farms, right up to the border of the plant, nuclear power plant. And same thing here, of course, right? It's just not so obvious. In Japan, 14 prefectures were banned by 55 countries because radioactive food is really, really friggin' bad for you. So then the question is, why are nuclear plants, almost all of them, surrounded by farms? And you don't want to know the answer. It's hard to accept the truth, eh? And so the food was banned by 55 countries, not Canada. Canada's not really a country. Canada removed all restrictions because Canada's completely captured by the nuclear industry. They captured the universities in the 50s. So, like, just Fukushima Prefecture, just one of those markers, produces over 1 million 1 million tons of rice a year. It's a massive amount, right? And so people don't want the radioactive food, so they made, they had all kinds of facilities making sake. The Fukushima government, the government of Japan, had opened a sake shop in New York specializing in brews from the nuclear wasteland. And people were going in getting samples because they were free. It looks like I'm going to be yellowed. It looks like I'm going to be yellowed out again tonight, am I? I'm on fiber optics. On fiber optics. How can that happen? I hope it's coming up, because we know we've done that to us recently, right? Where they so it looks like they're going to zero me out again. No matter, even if you go from a satellite, this is Sellafield, formerly known as Windscale. Even from and this was a weapons production facility, nasty releases. And even from a satellite, as far as you can see, it's surrounded by farms. And this is a norm. This is the norm. And all of these disease factories are located. Now, the fuel pools are all hemorrhaging radioactive atoms. They're still splitting atoms. Sorry, I'll go to the other window. Am I even showing up now? Because they said they're not getting no. Okay, thanks, James. James says the stream looks fine. Now, remember, we done a really controversial show week and a half ago or something, and we had the yellow death banner the whole show. And you know, I'm going to be looking at it on my external computer, right? Foliage and soil uptake of cesium and strontium. This is going to be true for every isotope. It's not just going to be cesium-134 and strontium-85 by grapevines. Every isotope is going to be in that sample, but that was the ones they were looking for, and that's the ones they found. And so this is quite the concern. If you're not concerned, you're not being honest. A single atom is in your body, it eventually turns into a tumor. Irreversible heart damage for children. Irreversible heart damage for children with 50 atoms a kilogram. How are you going to avoid 50 atoms a kilogram in the food within 100 miles of a nuclear power plant? How does that actually work? Why is every nuclear power plant surrounded by farms? That's one of the most frightening. Another study on cesium-134 or strontium-85 in strawberries and foliage uptake. Why is every nuclear power plant, except for a few, surrounded by farms? And the answer to that is terrifying. It's terrifying. As far as I know, there's nobody on the planet will ask you that question besides me. That's it. And then, so I dug up all these pictures because I was hoping I was wrong, and unfortunately I wasn't wrong. They're targeting you far away. They're shipping the food to your communities from around these sites and doing experiments on you when you get sick. It's an insidious industry. It just doesn't have a single redeeming quality. And it's not like they don't know. They've done the studies. They know this is absurdness. To surround a nuclear plant with farm is literally sentencing everybody who eats the food to a life of misery. James says I'm streaming fine. Is anybody else? Any issues? I'm not seeing anybody saying stream stop, so let's keep going. Right, because we got the death stream, the yellow. That shouldn't exist. I got fiber optics. I either no stream at all or an excellent stream. It's fiber optics. I have 1 gigabyte a second. right? There's a gigabyte a second. I'll just keep my eye on the comment section and see if anybody's losing the stream. Let me keep going here. It's quite a coincidence, isn't it? Total coincidence, Dana, that almost every single farm on the planet is surrounded. And the problem is, you know, U.S. bans agricultural fishery products from 14 prefectures in Japan because, it's 2 billion times, just the radioactive fallout, each atom is 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison. When it's in your body, you're getting a dose trillions of times higher than you would external. And what's the best way to get the radiation into your body is surround these disease factories with farms. And then the fresh water is the fresh water, right, is typically in these scenarios is supporting tens of thousands of farms downstream. Another way to radiate all your food. And then all the dumps, all the reprocessing, all the fuel facilities had the same attributes. They're surrounded by farms. Like we're in real trouble because they've been doing it for almost 80 years now. There's no checks and balances whatsoever. We're it. And I mean, I'm ostracized. Right, I have very, very, very little support. Just a couple of people. I don't know how they're able to keep it up. And we've been at this a very long time. I'm very, very honest. And I'm sincere. I'm genuine. Blowing my own horn here. And I've carried out extensive research expeditions. I've been under siege for over a decade straight from the industry. We even have our own little puppet, Calm Down Charlie, who's stalking me for over 10 years. From Japan. Tokyo Bureau, Chicago Division, he likes to call it. Foliage and root uptake of cesium, strontium, zirconium, and processed tomato plants. So they know what they're doing is evil. And they're okay with that. You don't need to be. You shouldn't be. This is terrible stuff. Children with 11 atoms a kilogram start to see heart problems. 11 atoms. You can put 200 million atoms on the head of a needle, you can't see it. How are you supposed to protect your children from 11 per kilogram? For goodness sakes. 50 atoms per kilogram for adults with permanent lesions to your organs. This always blows my mind. A playground right alongside of a nuclear power plant. Experimentally determined translocations of cesium-134. Comparison with radioecology, I can't even pronounce that tonight. I had a rough day, so I got a excuse for myself. I don't know if anybody else will buy into it. Why is every farm or every nuclear power plant absolutely butted up with farms? In Fukushima, the children in 2012, the first year, 1 year, 2 months or something, right, July, 35.8%. It used to be 1 in a million. So 1 million of children would have thyroid tumors. So now you're talking about 358,000 out of 1 million post-Fukushima. In the first year, it was 865,000 extra cancers. Not everybody got health care. Not everybody was diagnosed, right? So 13,646 out of 38,000 children is absurd. These are absurd. This is the definition of absurdity. Just give me a second. I gotta try to fix my screen. There's killing me. Damn you, screen. That sounds a lot harder than the sound. Alrighty, I'm back. Oh, I screwed that up. I fixed the screen, but I forgot that. There we go. We're okay. My apologies. I'm sorry. Where am I to here? See, these are just absurd numbers because the children are producing radioactive hormones for the rest of their lives. And if they're doing that, then clearly they're going to be producing radioactive stem cells too for the rest of their lives. I just wanted to start to show up with an unbelievably important question everybody needs to ask themselves. Everybody needs to ask themselves the question. Because you got all these studies that clearly show the radiation is absorbed immediately into any kind of plants, fruits, vegetables, etc. So what would be the catalyst? And so you see those tall skinny stacks in the background? That's the vent for the fuel pools. The fuel pools are where they got decades of reactor cores. The reactor cores are splitting atoms for millions of years. If you were at this site and you can see radiation, this is what it would look like. Unfortunately, it would look worse than that. But you can't see it. You can't smell it or hear it or feel it or taste it or touch it or perceive it or pick it up or throw rocks at it. As I like to say sometimes. Truly one of the most frightening pictures imaginable because of the implications. Right? And like the evidence that this is absurdness is overwhelming. Radiation in small doses could actually be disproportionately worse. Doses spread out over time might be more dangerous than doses given at once. And so, do you buy food at a supermarket? Do you know anybody that buys food at a supermarket? Excuse me. Still got the yellow screen of debt. Why not? I consider it a threat. I'm assuming they're threatening me by doing that. Cesium, strontium in fruit plants? These are frightening pictures. We're almost through them. We only got we got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 to get through. I'll speed up here now. Inhaling just one hot particle, everything from a nuclear meltdown or nuclear reactor fuel pool is a hot particle. So you take the reactor core out of the reactor and you put it in a pool for decades. And it's still splitting the atoms would for a million homes and businesses. So, after 4 decades, you got maybe 8 reactor cores at the top of a building. Every one of them splitting the same. So you got 8 million. You got atoms that would power 8 million homes and businesses being released directly into the environment with no containment. And a lot of them are surrounded by farms. It's hard to accept that they hate you that much, isn't it? But how are you gonna deny it? You have all these studies, you have all the documentation. This is just a fraction. And every one of these pictures are the the first, like there was 100 pictures or something. I dug up 100 high elevation pictures, or pictures from planes. I can't remember what the search term was I was using. And I was like shocked. Picture after picture after picture after picture of nuclear plants surrounded by farms. And the higher the elevation, the more farms. This is just, and the industry's entire legacy is predicated upon inconceivable deceit. I mean, like the International Atomic Energy Agency is the watchdog and the promoter. I guess what are we talking about? How can you be a watchdog and a promoter? And they're not a watchdog. They're not a regulatory agency. Radioactive material from reactors is 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison. So why would you surround these disease factories with farms? You're only left with one answer, because they hate your guts and every other species on the planet, and that they're insane monsters. I'm being polite because we're on YouTube, but they're degenerates. You're left with no other. Radiation like explosions going off in your cells every second, blowing holes in the DNA. The physical atom is in your body, sequestered in your muscles, your organs, and your bones. It pulses energy like an explosion in every direction. Directs your chromosomes, your DNA, your cells. Your body tries to repair that every second and attack the source every second with white blood cells. It can't repair all that. So you have all these damaged cells and chromosomes and DNA. You have permanent lesions to your organs, the same as the animals. International Atomic Energy Agency today admitted there's no such thing as a safe level of radiation, and that the allowable radiation standards are based on a benefit, not safety. So they're based on man-made or natural stuff. They're based on potassium, magnesium, iron. They're not based on uranium, plutonium, americium, neptunium. Their standards are not standards. Their standards is a hoodwinking, and they shouldn't exist. Japan is their third biggest donor. They have no right to exist. And the media has no right, outside of deception, to call them a watchdog and by their own words, they're not a regulatory agency. They have no authority over anybody. Let's get through this a little quicker. So they have all these studies showing how any kind of plant, tree, bush, fruit tree, whatever, is going to suck up the radiation. So why is every nuclear power plant that I can find, except for a couple, surrounded by farms? Japan government promotes the idea you're racist if you avoid Fukushima food. This is a place where they picked up 30 million one-ton bags of topsoil because of radioactive fallout, which was on 3% of the land, mostly farmland, and the communities where they were hoping to trick and manipulate and deceive people and coerce people into moving back into. And some brutal censorship last night, wasn't it? Holy shit. Like 100 views? Like the less views I got on my videos typically is the better the video actually is. $118 views on my show last night. That's absurd. That was really great topics last night. But it shows you the desperation of an industry, of an industry of cowards. Nuclear seems to just, where all the cowards seem to gravitate to is the nuclear industry. The more expensive suit they're wearing, the more cowardly they are in real life. An estimation of the half-life period of cesium content in root inhabited soil layer of meadow ecosystem. So they can extrapolate from that all the other isotopes. It's not just going to be cesium. It's not just going to be strontium-85 is not just going to be iodine-131. That's a mathematical equation. And radioactive material like cesium are brought back to the surface soil each year by plant growth and pollination. Please wake up. Please fight back. You got nothing to lose. You got nothing to lose. Like, you got nothing to lose by fighting back. They've done you dirty and your loved ones and your friends and your families for 80 years. Isn't it time you hold them accountable? Isn't it time you brought it to them? Isn't it time we all asked ourselves a question? Isn't it time? Because you matter. Your friends, your families, they matter. Irreversible heart damage for children with 50 atoms a kilogram. So a Becquerel is the pulse of energy, but you need an atom to have that pulse of energy. And they're only acknowledged in cesium-137, which, by the way, pulses energy 600 feet. So it can wreck endless cells and chromosomes and DNA, for instance, from outside your body, outside your house. And the French government study was 1 million to 10 million times pre-Fukushima levels per cubic meter of air covering the entire planet of cesium-137. You have to wake up. If you don't wake up, I'm going to find you and shake you. And when you wake up, I'm going to give you a cookie. Grown by one of these farms. So, would you eat food from one of these farms? And if you ask every academic in the nuclear industry, they'll all say, oh yeah, absolutely. And if you fed them food and then told them it was from a farm alongside a nuclear plant, they'd go in the bathroom and puke up. They're not human like us for some reason. They're missing all the chromosomes and DNA you need to be a human. The Fukushima nuclear report, top government officials said, was so shocking, they decided to treat it as if it didn't exist, because otherwise you have to abandon Japan and Canada and United States. Never go near the Pacific or the Atlantic Ocean again. If you think I'm joking, you're sadly mistaken. This guy got a lot of credibility who wrote this story. So he's suggesting there could have been a Chernobyl-scale disaster in Pakistan. Let's go through it. Punjab at the risk of Chernobyl-scale disaster. I was like, what? What am I reading? Because I'm always saying that anyway, because I read so much. This is all I read, is this stuff all day, all night. And lately I've been picking up the guitar a lot. So I'm trying to do like a lead guitar for Knocking on Heaven's Door, for Imagine by the Beatles, for I got a bunch of songs there I'm doing. I'm trying to learn the lead guitar for each one of them. Nothing fancy, just the notes. Where I play the notes as. I'm not trying to be a rock star or something. It's just a good hobby, right? Good coordination. And that's my only escape from this stuff. And what could evolve to one of the gravest nuclear incidences in South Asia, in Pakistan's Punjab province, may be teetering on the edge of a catastrophic disaster following escalating tensions with India and military confrontations during recent Operation Sindoor. So everybody, if you're here regularly, is pretty familiar that India and Pakistan are threatening each other again with nuclear weapons. And the Kashmir, because of the Kashmir region that they've been fighting over for how many decades now? It's an important area, right? And the fresh water. Credible sources have raised alarm over a major nuclear setback centered in the Karana Hills of Sargodha district, home to suspected underground nuclear facilities. Underground nuclear facilities. Every country that got nuclear is doing the same thing, right? Just bear with me, I get a little... Reports suggest that a nuclear missile, nuclear-tipped, or nuclear warhead missile, initially intended to strike Indian territory, malfunctioned and exploded near the launching site within the Pakistani borders. This incident, kept tightly under wraps by the Pakistani military and intelligence agencies, may have triggered a chain of events bearing haunting resemblance to the Chernobyl disaster in the former Soviet Union, in Ukraine. Posts on social media containing keywords like radiation leak, nuclear accident are reportedly being systematically taken down by government-controlled agencies. Unverified video depicts scenes of hurried evacuations, empty streets, military convoys. Some accounts claim that the Pakistani army is forcibly evacuating local population to contain a potential radiological threat, a claim further fueled by the military's ongoing efforts to censor discussions around radiation leaks. Every time I hear the word leaks, I just want to go around kicking nuclear scientists in their... You'll figure it out. To draw a comparison, the Chernobyl disaster released an estimated 400 times more radioactive material than Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This is... Every time I hear that, I laugh. Because that's so far off the mark. Look, they closed 9,400 farms in Ireland, Scotland, United Kingdom. You're not going to find that on Wikipedia. Literally nothing I'm telling you you're going to find on Wikipedia. Wikipedia is the controlled... It's just disgusting what Wikipedia... I mean, Chernobyl, all 600 helicopter pilots died. And I can see that on Wikipedia. Let's keep going because I got quite a bit to get through. I did much work last night, and then when I got back today, I worked right up until we were almost live, so we can have a show for tonight. I was yawning and yawning and yawning. I was like, oh shit, I'll fall asleep before the show starts. I better get my ass in gear. The radioactive fallout contaminated approximately... I'm starting to feel a bit better now, mind you. Like wakey voice. I'll crash right after this. The radioactive fallout contaminated approximately 100,000 square kilometers across Ukraine, Belarus, Russia, with trace radiation levels detected across Western Europe. They actually done sex ratio studies for Europe. And the only reason you're going to do something like that is because you're assuming Europe was incredibly contaminated. So you're looking for more males than females. And that's going to be true for all the species, not just humans. It's going to be much more pronounced in the species on top of that. So the more males, the less species you're going to have generationally, right? It was heavy radiation as far like 3,000 kilometers away in Ireland, Scotland, United Kingdom. They closed 9,400 farms. Try to wrap your mind around that statement. Because of radioactive fallout. It means they were supposed to abandon Ireland, Scotland, United Kingdom. You can't... Radiation doesn't just seek out farm. Where's the farm? Where's the farm? Where's the farm? Okay, let's go, guys. It doesn't work that way, okay? It blankets everything like a snowstorm. So your water was never safe after. Residents around suspected impact zones in Punjab, particularly near Sargada, and I'm going to butcher names, so sue me later if you want to, but Nur Clan Air Base have reported a sudden rise in unexplained illnesses. Medical professionals cite a spike in persistent high fevers, unusual skin lesions, chronic respiratory problems, neurological symptoms, and ailments strongly indicative of exposure to radioactive material. Obesity rates doubled in Japan in the first year. Now it's 74% of Americans are obese, and almost 90% of Canadians are obese. Canada removed all restrictions on the food from the nuclear wasteland, while 55 countries banned it in 14 prefectures after 93 days. And so Canada was getting the worst radioactive food was shipped to Canada. Everybody in Canada was poisoned. It's unbelievable what they've done to Canada. It's gross. And that's the only way you can describe the industry and everybody in it. They're just gross. They look like humans, but they definitely don't have any attributes of them. Adding to the mystery, international flight tracking data has revealed unusual aircraft activities over Pakistan. One such aircraft, the American Beechcraft, the B-350 AMS, we know that one, known for its role in nuclear incident detection and radiological mapping, was observed in Pakistani airspace. And this plane, equipped with gamma-ray sensors and radiation detectors, were deployed during events such as the Fukushima disaster. And we have that documentation, by the way, and I'm not going to get to it tonight. Hey, where's my Geiger counter? That's a great question. I took it down because some stuff we couldn't read up in the corner. Forgot to put it back up. The possibility that foreign powers are now directly involved in preventing a nuclear catastrophe speaks volumes about the gravity of the situation. So this is the first I heard of it. This was just before we went live, and I was like, oh shit. I'm reading through it, and I was like in disbelief. And so I don't know if it's true. But bear with me. The guy who wrote it apparently is very credible. I'll show you that at the end of this story. Another area under scrutiny is the Dera Ghazi Khan, home to the former uranium mines and a nuclear waste dump site in the Suleiman mountain range, long known for improper handling of radioactive waste. The region has experienced high incidences of bone, liver, cancer-related diseases. Well, there's this heart problem, liver, lung, respiratory, pituitary, thyroid, adrenaline. There's incredible illnesses and diseases and autoimmune deficiencies and injuries and illnesses. It's not just cancer. Problems documented extensively by global journals such as The Diplomat. If radiation has indeed been released into the surrounding region, immediate public health intervention, evacuations are essential. Delaying any such actions, especially in pursuit of political or military cover-up, can lead to irreversible damage. The potential implications of a nuclear mishap in Pakistan are not limited to national boundaries. Punjab is one of the most densely populated and agriculturally productive provinces in the country. Radioactive contamination could severely impact food security, water safety across the region, affecting millions and possibly spilling into neighboring India. Crops will absorb the radioactive particles, livestock could suffer high mortality rates, and the entire water system could become unsafe for human consumption. The cascading effects could mirror or even surpass those seen in post-Chernobyl Eastern Europe. And if you go look at my presentations on Chernobyl's anniversaries, and I'm still overdue for the last anniversary, I got no excuses outside of I've been pretty sick lately. Not a good excuse because I'm still doing shows, I suppose, right? Where entire regions were declared uninhabitable for decades. Once it's radioactive area, you don't want to go back. It's assimilated into every rock, every tree, every branch. You can't clean it up, see? Excuse me. International agencies, including the degenerate International Atomic Energy Agency and their bum buddy, the World Health Organization, they're both UN, right? Should be granted immediate access to assess and mitigate the damage. International Atomic Energy Agency. WHO is not going to mitigate anything. They're the lowest forms of life. They're your enemy. Time is of the essence. The health of tens of thousands, the safety of an entire province. The regional stability hangs in the balance. So the guy that wrote this, and I'm going to show you here in a second, he's a good writer. He's a very eloquent writer. He's a very knowledgeable writer, isn't he? And regional stability hangs in the balance. Ignoring or concealing the truth can no longer be an option for Pakistan or for the world. So the writer is very sincere. Like that story we wrote, that's not written by some amateur. This is the guy here. He's an internationally acclaimed, multi-award winning anti-military journalist and writer. And he is, like when you read, we just read little parts of it, but all of it is very articulated. He's not writing. He's very thoughtful writer, right? And so that brings a lot of credence to what he wrote. So that's a developing story. I don't know. But what he's basically saying is a nuclear weapon was launched, and that it blew up in its own site. Now that picture clearly is not going to be a real picture, right? But he's suggesting there was an event. So I don't know. That's definitely concerning. Trump tells the Gulf leaders Iran must cease support of proxy groups as part of any nuclear deal. I think Iran told him to go get lost. Not in those words, of course. Iran's not going to give up its nuclear programs, and nobody's going to take it away from them. And if you do decide to go, like the only way you're going to stop Iran is you're going to have to occupy Iran, who has 8 million to 9 million people in the military. They've been building sophisticated drones, incredibly sophisticated drones, for 15 years, 20 years straight, and storing them very deep underground. And same thing with very sophisticated missiles that have already twice defeated the Israelis' iron wall, or whatever they call it. Allegedly, they can sustain I can't remember the number, but it was somewhere around several hundred a day for many years with what they already have of missiles and sophisticated drones that have counter weapons that are. So you might destroy, yes, you can destroy Iran, but Iran's going to destroy everybody that supports whatever coalition it is that's going to attack them, including Israel is going to get pummeled within days. It'll be non-functional by day 3. Maybe that's what they want. I don't know. Tehran must end the support of proxy groups. If they didn't exist, Israel would already have destroyed all of Gaza. Well, I guess they already have destroyed Gaza. The only thing slowing them down is that because nobody else is giving them the resistance any kind of, like, Israel is attacking with they got thousands of tanks, jet fighters, they got sophisticated drones, they got helicopters, they got navies, they got intelligence satellites, you name it. They're attacking people, in sandals and Kalashnikovs and that, basically, right? And dirty, improvised explosives and stuff like that. But they destroyed the whole country. They got at least 100,000 women and children and other people buried under the rubble. It's completely barbaric. And if you've done 1/1000th of what Israel done to Gaza to Israel, like they'd be screeching on all over the internet. You would never hear the end of it. All they're good at is shooting fish in a barrel. It's a coward, pathetic society. Iran must stop sponsoring terror. Sure, that's what the United States and France and the United Kingdom does. They sponsor opposing groups, right? They give them weapons, they give them funds, they give them equipment. It's always been that way. That's what NATO is, for goodness sakes. It's a great big terrorist group, right? They were created in opposition to the Soviet Union. So when the Soviet Union was dissolved, you should have got rid of NATO. But now NATO got aircraft carriers, they got nuclear weapons. They're literally a terrorist organization. And like NATO can't exist without wars. It needs wars. That's what it is, right? It's 30 militaries. And so they'll go attack themselves, one of the 30 countries, and blame it on whatever group so that they can justify a war, right? It's absurd. The whole story is absurd. Trump says they can't have a nuclear weapon. Well, the only way that's going to work is if you occupy Iran. And I just don't see how that's going to play before there's incredible retaliation. Iran is not afraid anymore. It has no options now. It has to fight. Macron, did you see the videos of him taking a bag of coke off the table, and the other guy, Stammer, the UK Prime Minister, taking a spoon off the table? Why would you do that if it was innocent? And then the look on their faces. Macron openly deploying French nuclear weapons. So, like, France is a very strange country. It has a prime minister and a president. And last year they went through 4 prime ministers, but they still have the same disgusting parasite president. It's just, the whole story is insane. And you got yourself surrounded with the military. He's probably the shortest guy there, and he's like, so how the hell is he the tallest guy there? It's just so stupid. Such a joke, eh? The politician doesn't give a shit about your countries. Your presidents, your prime minister, don't give a shit about your countries. France held around 280 nuclear warheads in 2024. France nuclear testing was equal to a Nagasaki bomb every day for 12 years for the French Polynesians, radioactive fallout. And 10 administrations, 12 administrations later, whatever it is, they still refuse to acknowledge there's any adverse side effects. There's Mo. The other idiot was on the train. They're just completely unlikable, right? These people. They don't even act like people, for goodness sakes. Denmark is considering lifting a 40-year-old nuclear power plant ban. The minister. The country's not going to have a referendum. Some bozo in a $5,000 suit is going to take away the freedom of the country, and then everybody's going to be eating radioactive food because they're going to put it wherever all the farms are to. We can't have electricity system based on solar and wind. There has to be something else. Yeah, called geothermal. Why does it have to be stupid nuclear? Idiot. Iran news. Regime threatens 93% enrichment in the latest nuclear blackmail tactics. PBS and the NRC... is it the NRC public broadcasting? I can't remember. We covered them a lot in the legacy headlines. Apparently they're going to be defunded, hopefully. In blackmail tactic. What you're doing is, if they don't dismantle their entire nuclear thing, you're going to bomb them into non-existence. That's not blackmail, you parasites. You've had land, sea, and air embargoes and sanctions against them now for how many decades? Not against you, but against them, right? Not against anybody that's got a nuclear weapon. Iran has to get a nuclear weapon or they're going to end up like Ukraine. I can't stand nuclear weapons. I can't stand anything nuclear. It's a scumbag industry. Accused the degenerate agency, International Atomic Energy Agency, of decades of bias and complicity with Israel and the United States. No, I mean, the evidence is clear. That's true. It's not like you got to dig up anything. All the information is right there. It's a 100% true statement. The statement denounced the International Atomic Energy Agency's use of intelligence from the Zionist regime and accuses Rafael Grossi of serving the U.S. and Israeli security interests. Of course he does. The International Atomic Energy Agency only exists on donations. Brussels cited significant risk of unfair state support for the Dukovany, I apologize, nuclear plant. And look at the picture that they put there. Holy shit. Look at this picture, man. Jeez. These are such scumbags, eh? Why would you surround a disease factory where you can't contain the radiation emissions from the fuel pools? Why would you surround it with nuclear, with the farms? You sick and twisted and demented, sadistic creatures. It's just hideous that they done that. I still got the death banner. Error, YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming as such. I seem to be streaming okay though. I don't see anybody saying, Dana, your stream is breaking up. That's such a scary picture, eh? That is a frightening picture. I just want to put that over in my old shit pile there so I can find it. I just need to copy 3 of those. There we go. That's the last one. Yeah, when I seen that picture, I was like, wow. That's evil in overdrive right there. And the same thing with the next story. Look at the next story. Surrounded by farms. Why nuclear stock, Oklo, has popped 30% this week. Well, why would it rise 30% when they don't even have a nuclear reactor? They don't even have a small modular reactor. They don't have an application into the regulatory agencies. right? So why would the stocks rise? You know, it can take you decades to get any kind, and they don't even pay dividends, right? We covered that last night, didn't we? Shares of Oklo soared by double digits for the second day in a row Wednesday after a nuclear technology company announced a significant step forward in constructing its first nuclear power plant. Like, what are you talking about? You don't look. The significant step forward is when you have an application into the regulatory agency, and it's gone through the regulatory agency. So they hired 300 or 400 people, and they went through the application, which is typically a million pieces of paper, and they certified it. Now they approved the license. But like even then, you're supposed to build an experimental reactor at one of the national laboratories and run it hard to see if it has any flaws that are going to manifest. And they're not even going to do that anymore. Now Canada's just going to go build the Canadian reactor, the boiling water reactor X 300 is they call it a small modular reactor, but it's 240 feet tall. They're going to put half of it underground, right, to make it. It's still a 12-story building. It's the furthest thing there is from a small modular reactor. And we covered that last night, and that was a great, very important show last night. And it got a little over 100 views. I've never seen that low of a. Well, I have just only the last number of months. They've really been throttling any of my views now, and thumbs up and everything else. And desperation, like it's not like so people don't. Oh, he's getting no views. I'm not watching that, right? They know it's not going to change me. I'm still going to produce the documentation. Oklo, which generates no revenue in the quarter, reported an operating loss of $17 million. It generated no revenue. It lost $17 million. Yet its stocks went up 30%. That's how good the public relation firms are, right? Nuclear power providers like Oklo, Constellation Energy Group, Vista, NuScale, which NuScale is tangled up in a incredible lawsuits because it robbed the original investors of billions of dollars. And because they were their spin-off from the government, they went down the same thing then to South Korea and stole the money from the investors down there. So, like, what's going on is 14 biggest financial institutions on the planet have conspired to prop up the industry. We weren't sure how they were going to do that after Conference of Parties 29. And what it turned out was they'll buy shares, like millions of shares each, and they have like 2 or 3 or 4 small modular reactor companies, and they'll artificially inflate the value of the company by buying millions of shares, and then the stock market will pump these shares out there. People who don't know any better will buy into it because you see it rising. And then a couple of weeks later, the 14 biggest financial institutions that bought the shares will sell them, right? And so then whoever invested the money will lose about 1/3 of their money. The bank stole it all. But there's money. That's how these companies are staying afloat. And there's 100 of those companies out there. And they're doing the same thing for the fusion reactor companies. The NRC reviewing nuclear small modular reactor permit to power Dow Chemical manufacturing on the Gulf Coast. Like, what are you talking about? You don't have a small modular reactor. They want a permit for something that doesn't exist. The whole story is absurd. Carbon-free small modular reactors. They don't exist, though. They don't have any. Nobody has an actual full application into a regulatory agency, including Canada, which is 240, 24-story skyscrapers. They're the furthest thing. Carbon-free. I guess if you just keep saying carbon-free over and over and over, it's like abracadabra. New nuclear generation out for shuttered Kewaunee County plant site, new nuclear generation, again small modular reactor. So all of these stories, surrounded by firms, and these are grainy pictures that I got off the internet because I was trying to get, because they show you, they'll show you this picture. So when I went looking for pictures with better view, and I didn't do my homework, so I only got pretty grainy looking pictures, but that's the same place. Taiwan looks at the small modular. Taiwan just came out today, and we got those headlines there, that they're closing down that nuclear plant. That the government, the pro-nuclear government, just passed a motion yesterday to extend the life of it by 20 years, but they're not in power. And so the current administration says they're closing it down. We'll get to that coming up in a little tiny bit. Taiwan's National Atomic Research Institute. Taiwan had 2,000 of their nuclear students, nuclear employees from the nuclear plants, the nuclear alumni, and the colleges, universities. Students were out spamming the internet for 2 years after Fukushima, arguing with people talking about Fukushima, saying it's like a banana and a potato chip and walking in the sunshine. It's just surreal how evil this industry. It never stops, the evilness of this industry. This comes as the government prepares to decommission the Manshan nuclear power plant in Pingtung County, fulfilling its pledge to make Taiwan nuclear free. And then the next sentence is this one. Nuclear Safety Commission Chairman Cheng Ming-jen admitted that a significant amount of the nuclear talent has been lost over the past 2 decades, and that the government needs to cultivate and retain personnel for the sector. Well, why, if you're going to close down the last remaining plant, become nuclear free? World Nuclear News covered that story. I just despise these people, these cowards. Speaking of cowards, look at that creature right there. Director General, which is Raphael Grossi. I'm the Director General of the Nuclear Proctologist, by the way. In Ecuador, to support nuclear power plants, the Galapagos, and more. He's a creature. He's a pathetic human, eh? This guy. The degenerate International Atomic Energy Agency will strongly support Ecuador's goal for energy planning and development, said Raphael Grossi. Okay, almost looks like a human there. That's a neat trick. They must have, let's post a picture. Someone done the picture to make him look almost human. Low carbon, they got to throw it out there. Almost every story had low carbon in it today. It looks like they're promoting small modular reactors to artificially inflate stocks again. That's usually like a 3, 4, 5 week cycle. It's been missing for a few weeks. High on the agenda was cancer cure for Ecuador. And the ray of hope. The proton beams. Like, you don't want me to show you the headlines of what that stuff does to the victims. Trust me, you don't want to know. But how disgusting to call it the ray of hope. It's the ray of no hope is what it is. When they do that to you, you're on a fast decline immediately. How the International Atomic Energy Agency's efforts and local investments in cancer, which is the scariest statement you can ever make, by the way, including access to radiotherapy. Like, if I show you the radioactive therapy, radiotherapy studies that I got here, you'll never go near a hospital again. Are making a life-changing difference. Yeah, it's genocide. Nuclear scientists is also a powerful tool to boost food security. They radiate the food, right? And so they kill all the good bacteria in it so it doesn't break down. These are monsters, man. How else can you describe what they do besides monstrous? Atoms for food. It's just the scariest statement imaginable. These are monsters. radiating your food for your children and your friends and your families and your communities. That is just evil on a whole different level, man. Ray for hope, atoms for food. These are true monsters we're talking about. There is no monsters in Hollywood that come close to these creatures. Atoms for food is helping Ecuador, poisoning everybody. Nuclear battery startup Zeno Power raises $50 million to expand into space and at sea. At sea! Don't go putting any more nuclear in the ocean, for goodness sakes. I think they raised $50 million. Anything nuclear, man. Anything nuclear, they'll just throw endless money at you. There's no way you can fail. A venture-backed startup, man, I'll say, developing nuclear batteries to accelerate its work in space and underwater energy systems. These people are insane. The funding round was led by just all kinds of venture capitalists. Look. It's unbelievable. Headquartered in Seattle. Man, there's a lot of these small modular diffusions. And now this company in Seattle, Washington area. Years ago, they used to troll me all the time. Ultra safe nuclear, new scale. The company says it has secured over $60 million in government contracts. They just raised $50 million. They got $60 million in contracts. Gold Digger Resources out in BC announces a name change to Nuclear Vision Limited. So they're going to change their name from Gold Digger Resources to Nuclear Vision. You know why? Because they're going on the stock market. Jeez. How did we get so much evil in the nuclear industry? Because there's no checks and balances, Dana. Nuclear's new chapter, Opportunities and Challenges. J.P. Morgan. Nuclear presents unique potentials to provide reliable power while reducing carbon emissions. Climate tech and landscape. Right there, you clearly see this as a big scam. According to the Degenerate World Nuclear Association, nuclear power generates 20% of electricity and over 50% of the clean energy in the United States. Right, so they keep calling nuclear clean, but how is nuclear clean when it needs 2 gas, oil, and coal plants? It's the most resource-intensive industry in human history. It's the dirtiest industry, period, bar nothing. They surround it by farms and then poison you everywhere you go try to eat something. Positioning it as a cornerstone of the carbon transition. Nuclear can provide a reliable, efficient power source that can continuously, unlike renewables like wind and solar, that are weather dependent. Well, geothermal, you can build it this year instead of 15 years down the road. And anybody can do it. You don't need to get a bunch of arseholes from the university. Why would you look at nuclear when you have geothermal? Low carbon emissions, carbon reduction, carbon. So whenever you see those connotations like that, it's just a scam. Here you go, the president live from Taiwan. Nuclear reactor to close as planned. Despite the law change. In your face. Taiwan's last operating nuclear disease factory cannot be extended or restarted without a substantive review. They're closing it down. Despite an amendment passed Tuesday, we covered that yesterday, allowing nuclear facilities to extend their operating lifespan by 20 years. Some brutal censorship last night, man. They passed an amendment to the Nuclear Reactor Facility Regulation Act just 4 days before the reactor was scheduled to shut down. I can't wait for it to shut down myself, because you'll see infant mortality rates will drop right away. Go green, go nuclear. Activists begin to change their minds. This is a crazy story. These are pro-nuclear activists. They're calling them activists. Protest for nuclear. These are lobbyists. For decades, nuclear energy was the ecological villain. Still is, dummy. Across Europe, nuclear was shorthand for disaster, radioactive waste, three-eyed fish, and apocalyptic meltdowns. Still is. Today, nuclear energy is making a comeback. There is no nuclear renaissance. You have the same gigawatt capacity today as you had in the early 90s. There is no nuclear renaissance. And whatever reactors in the pipe right now, like China's got some in the pipe, and United Kingdom and a few other places, you got all kinds of reactors that are going to go offline over the next 1, 2, 3 years. Not despite the climate emergency, but because of it. The reason we have the climate emergency, you can trace the climate emergency to Fukushima. There was no climate emergency pre-Fukushima. Post-Fukushima, though. It's not a climate, it's an extinction event. What's more surprising than the policy shift is who's starting to support some of the very environmentalists who once campaigned fiercely against it. No, that's simply not true. The organizations were captured by the pro-nuclear community. That's what happened there. The European Commission formally included nuclear energy in its green taxonomy in 2023. We covered that for weeks on end. The EU list of sustainable activities eligible for favorable financing, and everybody called that fraud when it happened, right? It was something like 530 out of the 900 people, and none of these people are elected, by the way. They're all appointed. Voted. Like, it's simply, just because you had corrupt people vote and call it green doesn't mean it's green. It can never be green. It's a disgusting story, by the way. The people that wrote it, they really are mentally ill, these people. Suddenly, media that once warned of Fukushima-style disaster began highlighting nuclear's low emissions. What are you talking about, low emissions? It's a fantasy to suggest that these things are low emissions. Young climate activists, once loyal to the anti-nuclear, began calling for evidence-based environmentalism. Just like whoever wrote this story, and he quotes James Hansen, of all people. James Hansen, the scumbag of scumbags. James Hansen won Taiwan's version of the Nobel Prize for promoting nuclear. And it was like a little over $1 million or something. That was just before he retired. It was a kickback, right? James Hansen had gave a speech, a single 15-minute speech to Congress in the United States. And then that was the catalyst for the climate change debate, which is not a debate, it's a one-sided scam, right? And then he was his study that he done with another guy was challenged and found to be full of incredible flaws. He was debunked. He's such a disgusting person, and we got the videos of him too, right? Where he says you get more radiation flying on an airplane than you would at 3 Mile Island. Like, people that say stuff like that are mentally ill, and they're there to destroy your future and everybody else's future, so they can have a a great retirement because that's what they get paid for being monsters. The fear radiation waste accidents lack scientific grounding. Really? Like people like that, you want to grab them by the back of the head and drag them down to Fukushima. They'll claw your eyes right out of your head to get away from you. So many lies in this story. I like to meet someone. I like to meet some of these people. He'd wet his pants if he seen me. These are the creeps of creeps, eh? No nuclear extension. No tie power bailout KMT. The KMT, which is the opposition administration, demands are tantamount to blackmail, and extending the number 2 reactor's lifespan is not safe or economically viable. Tie power chairman said. So, in your face. Nuclear startup raises $36 million to commercialize fusion energy tech. They just throw money at these guys, eh? None of them comes to fruition. But it gives the unsuspecting investors who don't understand the big picture, right? This illusion that the industry has some foundation. It doesn't. They don't have the technology. And, like, they're working on the technology or the designs they're using are from 1904. Because there's no innovation in this industry. And again, like, you're talking about using magnets to control 300 million degree Fahrenheit temperatures. It's such a fantasy, but it's like, so to everybody, well, it's going to be endless free electricity. What are you talking about? Like, and if you look at the studies of fusion on top of that, the amount of tritium-3H that they're going to produce and pollute the planet with, they can't contain, is astronomical. It's catastrophic to everything with replicating cells. The reason the sun fusion works is because it's massive. Right, and it can expel its excess, a million miles into space. It needs to do that to work. So trying to, put fusion in a bottle, so to speak, can't work because it needs to expel its excess. That's why it works on the sun, because it's such a big. It only works at these large scales. You're not going to get it to work at these small scales. Like, you'll get some moments, maybe. But that's it. We can't contain 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures. How the hell are we going to contain 3 million degree Fahrenheit temperatures? Like, you got to learn to contain 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures before you can contain 300 million degree Fahrenheit temperatures. Apologize, I'm not really myself tonight, am I? I'm just barely hanging on here. Carbon free. I got some tea there. Maybe that'll cut. I'll be better by tomorrow, hopefully. A rough day. Oh. Generally, tea's got to be piping hot to work. The funding allows us to validate our plasma simulation using real-world experimental data. Is real-world experimental? See, that's not how real world is actual using the material. Like, simulation with experimental data, right? You can't put the word real world in that equation. Bring us dramatically closer to making fusion energy real. No, like they'll write whatever it takes. They just got $36 million to go out and pretend that they're good people. The oversubscribed Series A round was led by. They got all these venture companies throwing money at them, and if you took these same people and put them to work on resolving any outstanding issues with geothermal energy, right after 3 months, everything would be worked out. If you took 1/1000th of the money you throws at this thing and put it in the geothermal, we wouldn't give a shit about nuclear, gas, oil, or coal, would we? I mean, these people are pathetic. It's pathetic to try to come up with technology when you have the solution at your fingertips. It's called geothermal. And geothermal, you just go down until you hit 1,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures. That's hotter than gas, hotter than nuclear, hotter than oil, hotter than coal. They can do every trick you need it to do. And it's just it's the smartest technology we got. Everybody's avoiding it like a plague, because the minute you get one coming to fruition that can do the job, then all the nuclear industry realizes they're morons. The company was spun out of an experiment at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, funded by the U.S. Department of Energy. So, like, we give them all the money they ever want. We give them all the equipment, all the resources. We give them all the breaks they ever need, over and over and over, and they still can't produce something. What should that teach us? What should that tell us? What part about that is fucking confusing, I wonder? Excuse me. Nucleo, which is a French company, started up in London, because that makes sense, debuts a maritime reactor concept. I don't care about these concepts. Really, you're going to put a Chernobyl out there on the ocean, running around until it runs into something? Gets caught in a storm? What's wrong with you idiots? You people are idiots. You're literally idiots to do something like this. After what Fukushima done to our planet, after decades of dumping it directly into the ocean, Francis-based nuclear startup Nucleo, we've covered them lots since they started up, display a full-scale model. We've seen lots of this, right, over the last number of years in particular, of a lead-cooled fast reactor. What are you talking about, lead-cooled? You don't even have one on the planet. The ones you tried to build all melted down. Right, the Monjo reactor, that's what that was, right? A sodium. It was using lead, wasn't it? The reactor is still in the conceptual design stage. And just throw all the money you got at it. How much you need? Well, I don't know, 50 million, a couple $100 million. Oh, that's nothing. That's nothing for nuclear. I'll get you that. A bunch of venture companies out there now will throw money at you. I've never seen anything like it. You can't talk to these people. They're so distant from any reality. I have some theories. One of my theories is they're the inbreeds of the inbreeds of the industry. And that's why they got these cushy little jobs, because their degenerate parents and grandparents were so evil. This was kickbacks to take care of their inbreeds, right? Nuclear finance and pathways to tripling nuclear energy capacity and focus during nuclear energy agencies visit the United States. It's just an overwhelming amount of scumbags in this industry, isn't it? Look, shit for brains in the center there. That's the Idaho National Laboratory guy. Remember him? We've covered this guy before. The Nuclear Energy Agency Director General, you always got to put these handles in front of him to make him look human. He's a shithead is who he actually is. with senior government officials, representatives of financial institutions, the nuclear industry to discuss the most pressing issues in the nuclear sector. The problem with the nuclear industry is they got so many scumbags there, so many degenerates, they can't succeed. Right? The industry won't let real scientists, real people into the industry. Only the scumbags that are not going to rat them out are allowed in, see? And so they don't have real talent, they just have all these scumbags. To discuss the security of supply chains for nuclear fuel, including plutonium mixed oxide fuel, also known as HALO. So the small modular reactors are going to run on plutonium mixed oxide fuel. They're saying high SA low enriched uranium. But ultimately, it's going to be plutonium mixed oxide fuel. The Nuclear Energy Agency delegations held in-depth discussions with senior experts of the World Bank. So they get put on a pedestal, and we see this over and over and over. They get all the money you give them all the money they ever want, and they steal 90% of it through administration. And then they sabotage any kind of renewables. Last year was 660 gigawatts of just solar came online in 12 months. And if you back that up with storage, like sand and sand batteries or volcanic rock batteries or pumped hydro batteries or compressed air batteries type scenarios, game over for all these industries. And they are pathetic. Look at them. Come on, guys. Y'all got to get your picture taken. They all text their parents so proud. Mom, you can't believe it. They took our picture. They're just unlikable, eh? After all these years, the only thing that's really clear is these are scumbags. The mission to the United States also included a visit to the shitheads at Idaho National Laboratory. They're shitheads, man. They're another screw up. You give them all the money they ever wanted. They can't get anything to work. They're built on one of the biggest aquifers in that part of the country. And they spent something like $90 million trying to mitigate what they done during the Manhattan Project. These people are literally idiots and the worst kind. They destroy the future of everybody. During a discussion on nuclear energy expansion organized by the Center for Strategic International Studies, you give them every opportunity. Senior fellow at Cites Energy Security Climate Change Program. Climate change. He's such an unlikable guy, eh? We've covered him a lot over the years. Maggot. Yeah, speaking of maggots, 24-year-old founder taking on nuclear fusion. Never stops, eh? There's just this continuous, just this perpetual, they come at you, it's just scumbag after scumbag. Has raised millions for his startup. The Fuse Testing Lab in Montreal, Canada. Fuse. Look, they even got themselves a neon sign. Jeez. That's the guy there in the black jacket. He's going to be 25 next month or something. And he says it clearly in that video. He's like, we're just figuring it out as we're going along. In other words, there's no hope of this coming to fruition. They're all there's 100 small modular reactor companies. They're just trying to figure it out as they're going along. There's 100 fusion companies out there. They're all telling you the exact same thing. We're just trying to figure it out as we're going along. And they put them on a pedestal, but it's not going to come to fruition because the sun can expel the radiation for millions of miles, and that's why it works in fusion. You're not going to put it. You're not going to build it and control it. It's simply not going to happen. 300 million degree Fahrenheit temperatures. Like, why are we trying to putting all this effort and time and energy, monetary and precious resources and metals and everything else into something that's not going to come to fruition, when all you have, you just need to drill the last 2 miles for geothermal to be the golden era of energy. Why are we sabotaging the golden era? Why are we ignoring it? And why are we putting technology on a pedestal that has no hopes of coming to fruition? Because they all got the same agenda. Right? Because they know it's not coming to fruition. So how much can they steal through administration? That's the sad and terrifying facet of facts. That's the most terrifying upcycling hell. James's newest song. Hold me like a spent fuel rod. Still laughs every time I see that one, man. That's some name for a song. That's a great song, eh? And the video's fantastic, isn't it? Dana Nasana had one of the best comments there last night where he says, imagine hold me like a spent fuel rod playing in dance clubs and stuff like that on big screens. Because it's incredible stuff that he got put together. I love it. I love it, man. It's amazing. Get your Fukushima food. Get your cancer. Shut up and die. This is the craziest picture of the day. 2 stories in a row. Nuclear power plants surrounded by farms. Butted right up to the nuclear site. Man, that is some serious evil. I explained all of this at the beginning of the show tonight. I'm glad the show is over. We're going to play James's newest song. It's just even my stomach is hurting now. I'll get some rest tonight. I'll be okay. We'll get back tomorrow night. We'll get a show in tomorrow night. Like we had snow yesterday, snow the day before, freezing temperatures today. But tomorrow it's supposed to be 14 degrees. It's supposed to be pretty warm. We're out in the Atlantic Ocean here, right? So it's strange weather. We'll get there. We're getting there. Just ran into the ground today. I'll be okay tomorrow. I got no choice because we got to do another show tomorrow night. The industry, I already had a few days off this year. The industry had enough breaks. Alrighty, let me see here now. I still got the yellow screen of death going there. I can bring that up for you. Alright, still got that yellow screen of death all night. I got fiber optics. I got a gigabyte a second. It's either gonna cut off because I have fiber optics. That's how that works, or it's gonna be perfect. Like I'm only using 6 or 7 megabytes a second to stream, but I have a gigabyte a second of upstream, right? And I bandwidth test too, And so fiber optics, the beauty of fiber optics is it's fiber optics. It's either brutally fast, incredibly fast rather, or it's not there at all. There's no middle ground when it comes to fiber optics. So to give me the yellow band of your stream is not going to be showing, it's pretty desperate for the industry to do that. Has the nuclear industry declared war on humanity by surrounding nuclear plants with farms worldwide? Yeah. Get your votes in. Give some likes before the show's over. It's almost over. James got a new song. Upcycling Hell. I love it. Just the name of it. Kind of gave us a little hint last night about this, didn't he? Nuclear industry gets how many millions and millions and millions of dollars did you throw at the nuclear industry today? It's a lot of money there today, wasn't it? Let me see. I'm going to control the volume on my end. I'm going to start the video, but stop it. Make sure we're in 1080. James does all the music, all the video. It's a stupid amount of work. We'll see everybody on the next show. That's it for Dana tonight. Have a great night and a great day tomorrow. Hugs for you and your friends, your families, your loved ones. Tomorrow night is the last show of the week because we start on Sunday, right? We end on Thursday. I'll see you tomorrow night. You take care now.
Aurora initialization complete. Fuel state. Legacy.
Waste turn science muta. Recycling equals redistribute with legacy kinetics.
Just deeper in the claim. This isn't progress, it's light and